It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Monday, November 4th. I'm Wendy Corr, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily newsroom, brought to you by 4 Wyoming PAC. 4 Wyoming PAC says this November, Wyoming will vote to allow residential homes to be taxed at a lower, fairer rate, even the playing field, and give families a much-needed break. 4 Wyoming PAC wants you to vote yes on Amendment A. The Elk Fire devastated more than 98,000 acres of forest land across the eastern face of the Bighorn Mountains in northern Wyoming. As of this weekend, the fire is an estimated 88% contained. Now, Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that a team of specialists called a Burned Area Emergency Response Team, or BEAR, is evaluating damage caused by the Elk Fire.
Fire's very much a mixed bag. Just depends on where it is and how long it burned as to, what the effect is going to be. They brought in hydrologists, archaeologists, soil scientists. They have someone of every stripe that might be having something to do with this fire, looking at what should we do in the aftermath of all this to mitigate any negative outcomes.
Not all of the effects of wildfire are negative. Certain species, like lodgepole pine and aspen trees, need fire to germinate new seedlings. The fire can also help clear out thick grasses that have become overgrown, and the bird plants do add some nutrients to the soil. When she was 26 weeks pregnant, her Colorado obstetrician urged Tasha Anderson of Lander to get an abortion. He said the little girl she was carrying was growing with her heart on the wrong side of her body and would be born with mental or physical disabilities, or both. But both Tasha and her husband Sam knew that they would love this baby no matter what. The couple told Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland that little Jameson is now 18 months old and has had 27 surgeries so far.
It turns out if you reroute the heart, you have to reroute a lot of other things. And so it's just been where nurses don't know where to find the veins and the digestive system isn't hooked up right. And it's just constant. But she's a very charming baby girl. I FaceTimed her for a little while. She would grab the phone and give it a big old kiss and just, mwah! And she's nonverbal still. She's 1.5 years, but you can tell what she's thinking and you can tell what she wants.
Tasha said her obstetrician in Colorado was half right. There was no doubt Jameson would have disabilities, but neither Tasha nor Sam regret having their little girl and said they can't even imagine life without her. Snowy weather and somber emotions didn't stop more than 200 people from gathering in a Jackson public square for a candlelight vigil for Grizzly 399 on Saturday night. Some came from hundreds of miles away to remember and memorialize the world's most famous bear, who was killed October 22nd when she was hit by a car in the Snake River Canyon. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi was among those in the crowd.
The event was very poignant, very lovely. It was cold, it was wet, but people were there. And they'd come from all over the country to be there because they wanted to get a sense of closure, because they felt attachment to 399 and her story and her motherhood and all of these things. And people, they didn't necessarily leave with a sense of closure, but as one of the organizers put it, it was a sense of peace. They knew that Grizzly 399 had been cremated, her remains had been scattered, she was home and she would be home forever. So it was a wonderful thing to participate in and be a part of.
After the speakers had finished their remarks, everyone was invited to light their candles in remembrance of Grizzly 399. Once they were lit, there were 399 seconds of silence. Well, the life of a working cowboy in the 21st century is not exactly the lifestyle romanticized by John Wayne in movie westerns. Cowpunchers need to be fence welders, irrigation pipe layers, and midwives to heifers having their first calves when it's a minus 20 degrees outside with a blistering Wyoming wind. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck spoke to an agriculture professor at Casper College who said there's a shortage of people willing to commit to that kind of life.
When ranchers from Casper call him looking for somebody to help, he said they typically don't have anybody to offer because the people in their program are either committed to a ranch that's in their family or they're going someplace that's already decided to hire them. So the cowboy pool isn't as big as we might think in these days.
Ranch managers say there's been an increase in interest in ranch hand jobs. The popularity of shows like Yellowstone may have something to do with that, but inexperienced applicants may not really know what they're signing up for. And now let's take a look at today's weather with Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day.
Unsettled is the best word to describe Wyoming's weather today and really all week. We're going to have at least 3 weather systems affect Wyoming. One coming through today, another one coming through late Tuesday and Wednesday, another one affecting parts of southern Wyoming as we get into Friday and Saturday. So it's going to be colder. It's going to be, well, unsettled. Today we've got some snow in the western mountains around the Wind Rivers in particular. The Snowy Range and the Sierra Madres will see some snow, and we're going to get some wind. Wind watches are in effect, high wind watches are in effect for the I-80 and I-25 corridors of southeastern Wyoming. Places like Cheyenne, Wheatland, Laramie, Rollins, be ready for some windy conditions later today, tonight, and Tuesday. Then we're going to see snow showers spread from the northwest to the southeast across the state late Tuesday night into early Wednesday. And that will lead to some colder temperatures statewide as well.
You can get Don's full forecast on the Cowboy State Daily website. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
Comparing your home to a luxury resort is like comparing apples to oranges. So why are they being taxed the same? Amendment A allows our homes to be taxed at a lower, fairer rate than commercial properties. Vote yes on Amendment A.
Well, last December, the Wyoming Office of State Lands and Investments recommended the Kelly parcel, adjacent to Grand Teton National Park, be auctioned off with a minimum bid of $80 million. On Friday, it upped the ante and is now recommending the state sell the pristine and controversial 640-acre parcel of land directly to Grand Teton National Park for $100 million. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that the extended saga about what to do with that parcel may be coming to a close at the upcoming State Lands and Investment Board meeting Thursday.
The thing that really got people up in arms about this last year was a original proposal from the Office of State Lands and Investments that this piece of land be sold in a public auction. That made people very nervous that a private buyer would buy it and potentially use it for making very, very large homes and kind of basically shutting the public off this public land. It appears that they are not going in that direction. The official recommendation is to sell it directly to Grand Teton.
Rob Wallace, the former Assistant Secretary of the Interior for Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, said that as part of the sale, the federal government will pay $62.4 million, while the remaining $37.6 million will be paid by the Grand Teton National Park Foundation and other sources of private philanthropy. A huge crack was found in the 115-year-old Laprelle Dam upstream from Douglas, and state officials have decided to preemptively breach the dam. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that the dam, which was built in 1909, was originally just intended to have a 50-year lifespan.
They found a new really significant crack, I guess, up toward the spillway on the dam, and it's not going to last. It's doomed to fail at this point. And so preemptively, they've already drawn the water down in the reservoir behind it, so they're not really worried about it busting and causing a catastrophic flood of Douglas and I-25 and all of that. But obviously it can't stay the way it is, so they're going to go ahead and breach it this spring.
If the dam collapsed on its own with a full pool behind it, the resulting deluge would cause catastrophic damage to downstream homes, a key bridge along I-25, and the Ayers Natural Bridge Park. Well, visitors and scientists in Yellowstone National Park noticed a few changes when gazing into the abyss this summer. The Abyss Pool in the West Thumb Geyser Basin, that is. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that one of the park's deepest hot springs has lost its relative cool, suggesting it could soon have a violent outburst. But then again, maybe it won't.
This year, the color changed from kind of a greenish black into a really brilliant blue, and the water level in the pool itself rose. Now, those could be signs of an eruption. The color change is a clear sign of a rise in temperature, and the Abyss Pool does erupt quite violently, and it has erupted when it's hotter. In the past, it sent water up 120 feet into the air, which is nothing to scoff at, but we're not talking about the hydrothermal explosion that happened at the Black Diamond Pool earlier this year. It wouldn't be anything like that. It would just be an unexpected splash of very hot water.
The Abyss Pool has had its share of mysteries. In August of 2022, a human foot was found floating in Abyss Pool. DNA analysis identified the remains as belonging to a 70-year-old man who was last seen in Yellowstone. And Bud Daly was a Fremont County resident for 49 years. But what many who knew him might not be aware, Daly, who died last month in Riverton at age 92, was a celebrated baseball player who overcame a withered arm disability and went on to pitch the final game of the Yankees' 1961 World Series win.
He bounced around Cleveland Indian affiliates in the minor leagues for a long time because his childhood idol was a starting pitcher for the Indians. And then he gets his big break in the major leagues at the Kansas City Athletics, where he's still a record holder, I believe, for most wins by a left-handed pitcher, which is a record that will remain since that team is no more. And so he eventually goes to the Yankees and they get a World Series win with him pitching.
Ed Daly told Cowboy State Daily that he always thought his dad had an ordinary job. He brought home a decent, though not extravagant, wage. Ed said he didn't realize how special his dad's career was until years after Bud Daly retired. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to drop in on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake Nichols, Monday through Friday from 6 to 10 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.